Hey, everybody, this is Sketch Zone Podcast. I am Carlos Gomez, and I have one of the besties ever, Mr. Jack Kasperzak.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Yes.
Oh, now that I look at the camera, check that out. Yeah.
Oh, look at that cubby.
Heck yeah.
Look at that little cubby. That looks like a Carlos Gomez special.
I think it is. I just remembered that I was wearing it. Yeah. I got this in the mail yesterday. Yeah, it's my drawing. What is it? coconutjustice.threadless.com. We got Sketch Zone stuff up there too. So any proceeds will help the show. Yeah, and it's actually really cool. They did a really good job. I'm excited. I need to get more. I need to get whatchamacallit, Sketch Zone, new Sketch Zone t-shirts. Because my show season is coming up. I want to go to Adobe Max and I want to go to CTN this year.
Nice.
Yeah, so I got to get sketch zoned out.
Got to get them stickers.
Thanks, Dave. Dave Atsey is in the chat room and he says that my shirt is looking good. Thank you, sir. How's your week going?
Good. I am busy. I hate it when people say that, like, oh, I'm busy.
Yeah.
Like, you make time for whatever you want, but this is like legit.
You're legit busy.
I sometimes feel like people say that just as like an excuse, like, oh, I'm busy. Because, it's just like a thing people say now, but
that's kind of the go-to excuse. I think when I try to schedule folks for the show, if they're like super important, which is probably very true, because if they were super important, they probably are super busy. But that's the number one reason for folks not coming on. And I get it. I mean,
people are busy. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
People got stuff going on.
Yeah. And the reason why we're looking at your stuff is because you're maintaining this output. Yeah. So I get it. But it would be really cool to come and be busy on the show. That'd be really fun.
Yeah, that's like, I think where it kind of starts to, like, if you're just asking someone how they are and they're like, oh man, so busy, that's like fine. Like that's like effectively saying I'm doing a lot of stuff, I did this, I did that. But a lot of times you get that, like you said, you invite them to, you want to go grab lunch, you want to come on the show, you want to work on a project with me, and they say I'm so busy, that what that really just means is I don't really want to do that with you.
Not important enough.
I mean, really it is, because if it is important, you make time to, I mean, we all make time to do the stuff we want to do. So,
right.
If it's something you want to do, you make time.
That's funny.
We did have you on, sir. We did.
That's funny.
And yes, Dave, we are all super important. We're all the heroes of our own stories. But speaking of super busy, I got some cool news about the show.
Yeah. About this show?
Yeah, about this show. And this kind of, it's kind of the reason we do this show. And it was kind of a cool little thing. So one of our listeners, I'll let you guess who in a minute. One of our listeners reached out to me and was like, hey, I'm moving to LA, trying to get into the biz and get to start. If you have some time, would you mind getting lunch with me? And at first I wanted to be like, I'm really busy. I'm just kidding. I was totally like, yeah, of course. I mean, what am I to say no to lunch? I'm usually eating lunch anyway. So like if you can come near me, like I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna shut you down. So listener Landon Wilson, he just moved. Yeah, he just moved to LA, and he asked to hang out, and we went and grabbed lunch. It's cool. It was really nice talking with a listener and talking with somebody who's kind of trying to get their footing in the industry, especially someone who's new to LA. That's always fun. You get the LA newbies. I was there once.
Yeah, I was actually watching him go from, because he's originally from the East Coast, I believe, the Northeast. I don't think New York, but probably like Connecticut-ish, I want to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was watching his travels all the way from coast to coast.
Yeah, he did the full cross country drive, and he stopped in a bunch of places. He got to he timed it so that he could be in St. Louis for the eclipse, which he said was pretty awesome.
That's neat.
Got to see some crazy weird parts of the country, some crazy awesome parts of the country, and so now he's been out here for like 2 weeks. And it's just it's like a good, you know, I'm sure he thinks like I'm doing him a favor, but it's also pretty cool for me too. You know, it's nice to see the folks that are listening to our show and got something out of it. You know, it's pretty cool to think about the technology. You know, he was living literally across the country and listening to this stuff.
Yeah.
A funny story. Here it is.
A funny story about him is he listened to us on iTunes, and I forgot what it was. We were having a conversation, and he goes, "Dude, I have no idea what you look like." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "I listened to you on iTunes, not on YouTube." I was like, "Oh, okay." So it was pretty cool. It actually works. Yeah, Matt, watch out for the earthquakes.
And then it was also a little bit like that weird like blind date thing, because I have no idea who this guy is. I don't even know what he looks like. So I like walk into this restaurant like awkwardly like looking around, and he obviously knew what I look like. Oh, hey, over here, you know. So it was like that. Mm-hmm. Like, I have no idea. I might be about to get murdered.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, not being murdered, but the fact that you were able to, the fact that you went out and met up with him, because he's one of our active listeners.
Yeah.
And he's always sharing stuff and always pointing people in our direction, which is very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
it's cool. It's cool to keep the networking alive. And I mean, that's kind of what this has always been about, you know, not just for listeners, but for us too. I mean, you know, that's part of why we started this, so that we could meet cool folks and talk to them, and just, I mean, that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, people like in the chat room, Matt Skanicki, he's in there, and we know a lot of the same people, and we're homies now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very cool stuff. What I wanted to do, Instagram, is go through and one of the other cool things that we've been doing is this fun prompt, and I need to actually, I can probably show it now. Let's do it on Instagram. The prompt for last week was a tough one.
Yeah, it was so tough. I didn't even partake. No, that's not why. But
let me see if I can find it real quick. Here we go. Let me share my screen. Here we go. So the prompt was a sting operation in a post office. And that might be way too many words. Yeah, Dave, we know you're too busy this week, quote unquote, too busy. But this one was hard. And so I was going around trying to collect research material. And I remembered this game Operation.
Yes.
And then at first I was going to use Sting, the musician.
Yeah, but that's going to be hard.
You know what's hard about drawing characters is if you don't have something that stands out a beard, a big nose, a big chin, anything like that, it's really hard to get anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so Sting is a very normal, you know, relatively good looking dude that's just super normal looking. And
So
then I
you did
remembered
Sting.
And then I remembered that there was Sting the wrestler.
There sure is Sting the wrestler. When I first saw it, I was like, why is the dude from Kiss on a operating table? And then I was like, oh no, wait, it's Sting the wrestler.
That's right. So yeah, a sting operation in a post office. So there. So now that we can get that out of the way.
I like the throwback style, the vintage.
Yeah, I found the box of Operation online, and I just copied it off of there, and it turned out pretty funny. It was a tough one though. It was definitely a tough one. With that being said, let's go ahead and pick this week's prompt. Hey, chat room. Let's see. Whoever answers first, pick a number between 1 and 5.
Let's go up to the canvas here and let's get started. I believe every day's a good day when you paint.
Yes, it's the fun prompt.
I love it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and place these out.
7.
Good job. Good job, Matt.
We got 2.
All right. And 3. All right. So now that we have way too many. Yeah, good job, Matt. He said, ugh, that's not a number. So let's go with the first one that actually makes sense, which would be a 2.
Well, if 7 minus 5, then it gets us to 2. So
plus 3.
Man, we're all over the place. Just do the 2. Just do the 2.
This is going to be good because we haven't done this one yet. Let's do an object.
So okay.
This week we're going to do an object, and the object is a pendant with an embedded stone on a necklace blue and gleams with frost.
Man, ain't nobody want to draw that. I got to be flat honest. Like, what are we doing? Like props for Dungeons and Dragons cards?
I know. Like something. How about a futuristic Roomba?
Okay. There we go. There we go.
That's funny.
Futuristic Roomba.
We're going to draw a futuristic Roomba.
There it is.
Let's go up to the canvas here and let's get started. I believe every day's a good day when you paint.
I love that.
All right, futuristic Roombas. Let's see them.
Futuristic Roomba. So
kind of cool because Roombas are already kind of futuristic, but
futuristic.
We're going even crazier. Like, what are they going to do in the future?
Speaking of futuristic. Did you happen to see what Apple announced this?
I saw some of it. Yeah, I did.
So they announced a few things. Let's go ahead and go down kind of chronologically, if you will. One of the first things that they announced was the new Apple Watch. It's the third generation Apple Watch.
Mm-hmm.
And the big thing is that it's cellular. It has cellular built in. What do you have a smartwatch at all?
I don't.
No? Do you wear watches at all?
I don't anymore, actually.
No.
I
don't either. I tan way too quickly. And that plays hell on my credit score. No.
Checkmate, Apple. You didn't think about that.
Yeah, like I tan way too quickly, and I don't really want to look like a farmer all the time.
I mean, it's pretty cool. It's kind of like Dick Tracy for real now. But but I don't know. I mean, I don't. Well, you tell me. I'm not even entirely sure how it works. So I assume it Bluetooths with their little ear pods.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you don't need the phone at all anymore. It does its thing. It's by itself.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't have any Apple Watch at all, but I know that the first 2 generations, they feed data back and forth directly from your phone.
Yeah.
So I think that there's still going to be a lot of that happening, but the difference is, you can leave your, like, let's say you're going for a run, you can leave your phone at home now.
And you can make calls.
You can make calls. You can
download songs, stream songs.
Yeah. Text messages, all that stuff. Matt in the chat room says he's not a fan of the watch, of the Apple Watch or any of these smart watches at all, Matt. But yeah, like it was, out of all the announcements, I think the watch is probably the one thing that I was like, oh, okay, cool. Everything else was just kind of okay.
Yeah.
None. Yeah, Matt doesn't like any watch at all. I'll wear watches, like if I dress up and I have to pretend to be an adult, I'll wear a watch because that's what grown-ups do.
You know, thinking about it a little further, and if it were as easy to navigate the internet and get all the stuff you need, because Lord knows working that thing is, I mean, they've made it as pretty easy as they can for how small it is.
Yeah.
But that's on a very limited, limited set of capabilities. It's not like you're browsing the web and like having a good old time on there. You're kind of just doing what it's meant to do. So that aside, let's assume that you could browse the web and do everything. Like I could get into that, because sometimes, the phone's getting clunky and, carry it around and they keep making them bigger. And if you can have your phone and everything you need just on your wrist in that like small little box, that's pretty cool. I could see that starting to take over, especially now since their other announcement was that they're about to make the phone $1,000 plus. Like these things are becoming straight up more expensive than a desktop computer.
Yeah.
And I mean, fair enough. I mean, the phone has become people's computer. I mean, it's become their livelihood. I mean, people do work on their phones. People research it on the web. They're on the Facebook and Google and chat and message and phone. Like, I mean, people are just doing everything on their phone. So part of me defends it and totally understands. Like, this is a lot of people's primary computing device. The more stuff you add to it, the more impressive it becomes. Yeah, it's going to start costing a lot. But then the other part of me is like
$1,000 for $1,000. There was one phone that I saw, and it might even start heading in this direction. But I saw this one phone that you set it down in the wireless charging pad, and then that was connected to a monitor or to a display, and then your phone turned into a full-on computer.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool, and I think that's where stuff's headed. I think all these devices are becoming more and more linked, and I think that is the ultimate goal. It's kind of that they're not just linked; they are the same device in a sort of way, and that it's just a different viewing app to your quote unquote, cloud computer or whatever it is.
Right.
So, you can walk in and you can just drop your thing on a mat, and then all of a sudden you've got your iPhone on your big screen, and you can utilize your tablet functions and all that. And then you can leave for work, and you just have it in a tiny little thing, and then you get to work and you dock it there, and you got, it's like, I get that, and that's cool. I can see that's where it's going.
And that's where it starts to get more and more interesting, because everything is going cloud-based anyway, right? So all the storage and everything is going cloud-based. Yeah, Matt said they got to pay for that spaceship in San Francisco they built. Yeah, they do. But everything that they're doing with the iPhone starts to become more and more interesting, because everything that they figure out with the iPhone, they move into the iPad. And we're going to see here in a little bit, because we're going to take a look at some of the functionality that the new iOS 11 is showing us, and Procreate and everything. I mean, I'm trying to think, like, illustrators don't need a big computer anymore.
Yeah. That's true.
And I'm trying to think of it, like concept artists and folks like that. And I know I'm just kind of talking as someone outside looking in. You can do a lot of that work there. I mean, you don't, like, these are the people that aren't really doing typesetting. They're not really doing a lot of page layout or anything like that. Even that, you can get a lot of that work done. But folks that are drawing, you don't really need
a
huge machine anymore. And that's where I start to get excited. Not necessarily the phone. I actually want to go back. A flip phone might be a little too far back, but just a regular phone that makes calls, really.
Yeah.
I mean, because you can do text messages on the iPad. You can do the majority of this stuff on the iPad.
Yeah, you can. I mean, and you know, the iPad has cellular on it. You can, I mean, as long as it's linked to your phone, you can make calls. But I'm sure that's the next thing coming. Like, why not make calls straight from your iPad? Like,
right. And that's I don't know if this is going to work, but I can make calls from, maybe it's just FaceTime
yeah,
calls,
it's all the iMessage, FaceTime stuff.
yeah. But if I can make a call on my watch, the next logical, well, it might not even be logical, but the next move would definitely be, might as well put that in the iPad.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of where all of this is going. All of these previously separated technologies are all kind of just slowly blurring into one thing. You know, we used to have phone service, and you had text message service, and then you had a drawing program and a whatever. You know, it's like all of those things. I mean, it's all just becoming data usage at a certain point, right? Like, it's like you don't really need, there's almost no difference between cellular service and like a data service. Like, I mean, there is a technical difference, but I mean, it's coming to the point where they're starting to convert stuff over, and it's like you can make a phone call off of, you know, Wi-Fi data or whatever. You don't need an actual cell tower. So it's kind of all those techs are starting to overlap, and I agree. I think that is where it's kind of becoming cool. Like, you don't need a specific device to do a specific thing. Like, everything's kind of all overlapping, and like, you can just jump on your iPad and, you know, make a phone call, and then you're at work, and then you can start your drawing, and it's like everything's, at some point, it's kind of like, do you even need a cell phone at all?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And if your phone, and that's going to be one of the big questions that has to be answered. Do you need a cell phone if you have an iPad and an Apple Watch?
Yeah, and I guess, yeah, the argument is I mean, it's no, you don't, because it's not even there's, at some point, there like really is no such thing as a cell phone anymore. Like, it's just a service that, like, a little program, a little app, a certain service that all the devices, you know, offer. So it's kind of like, it stops being a specific, you know, it's weird to think about. It's like almost like the idea of a telephone is going extinct, you know, because it's like, it's just another thing you do on a computer, effectively. But what version of your computer, your watch, or quote unquote phone in your pocket, which is really just another small computer in your pocket. Yeah, I mean, you can kind of argue, no, you don't, because they're all going to become interchangeable.
Yeah. There's a conversation that I was started to unfold in my brain, but I don't know if we want to go this deep and this crazy. So instead, that's for another time. What I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about rendering text messages and phone calls useless if we can just like connect. Our brain then becomes the iPhone, and we're just telepathically sending messages. Or you know how like we can't necessarily break ourselves down into like whatever transportable cells. So then that way, if I wanted to go to LA, I would break my body down and then it would get teleported over to you, right? But instead, what if we're tapped into kind of like the Matrix and I send a version of myself over to you, right? In LA. That's the kind of goofy stuff. You got to go get some drugs for that one. But
I don't think it's that far off.
Yeah, I
don't think it is.
That's what's wacky. So then after they announced the Apple Watch, they announced the 4K Apple TV.
I mean, okay. At some point, I'm kind of like, why?
HD.
I mean,
do you want to come say hi?
That's just not even HD anymore. What's up, Mimi?
Sketch Zone Nation. My sister's here visiting. So she wanted to. She's creeping around, and now she's dancing. And yes, thank you for that. Mimi, my baby sister.
Oh, she stopped dancing. I guess. All right.
No, HD Apple TV.
But it's that. I mean, that's not even. That's so far beyond HD. That's like triple HD.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
It's just. I don't really get that part of the technology, like the chasing of this like extraordinarily high definition image. Like at a certain point, like you can't tell the difference. I mean, you really, honestly, you can't. I mean, it's, remember like when we were back in school and you had to do all the DPI math conversions when you're like trying to figure out how to print something and how big, and then, well, okay, this printer does that DPI and that, and it's like, I mean, after about, I mean, there's an arguable difference between 200 to 300, but after 300, like there's so little difference that the eye can actually pick up on. It's like, why are you going to print something at 4,000 DPI? Like, are you really going to like notice the difference?
And do you want to notice the difference? Because let me tell you,
that's another totally valid argument.
When we had regular TV, everyone on TV was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
HD came out. It's
something else. Yeah, you start to see like makeup lines.
Yeah,
you start seeing people a little like some pores and like weird stuff on their face that you're like, oh, all right, well, you're just a regular person, which is good, I guess.
Right.
It kind of takes away the facade, but and I get it.
I think they're giving you even more information than we can see in a regular.
In a way, I actually agree. I feel like there's more information there than there is in the real world, which I know is not true, but it really makes you focus on a lot of stuff I don't think we need to be focusing on. Like when you're telling a story or you're telling the news, like, oh, I don't know that I need to see makeup lines and like, you know, your pores on your nose. Like I'm there to hear a cool story or watch the news or watch a movie. Now, I do get I'm not a sports guy, but I get the appeal why people want sports stuff like super high def and 48 frames per second and stuff. Like it kind of makes that us feel a little more like you're there watching the game. And but I don't know, man, there is a limit to everything. Like our eyes can't detect certain differences, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, all right.
So, yeah. And I don't know, maybe I think maybe they're even late to the game with this stuff. And let me tell you, you can have as HD as possible as you want. If you don't have the content, then you're just kind of wasting pixels.
Yeah, in a way. In a way, you're kind of just,
because I don't know if carpool karaoke
you know, and I was
doing that well.
And I wonder, you know, I wonder how much of it is purely just a because we can type of mentality, you know, is push this further because we can, and because, you know, it will, I can only assume it will push some other part of the industry or some other part of the tech forward by having this capability and by having this. But it almost seems like, you know, but not almost, it is true. It's like, you know, we create this kind of catch-22 where it's like, oh man, my 3D program takes up so much RAM, so now I need more RAM. Okay, well, I mean, I remember when I had like 8 megabytes of RAM, and I was like, and then I mean, you know, started getting into gigabytes or whatever, and now it's like I work on a computer that has 48 gigs of RAM, and it's like, but Maya will chew all of that, like no problem. You'll just like. And yeah, I get it's like, you know, the tech advances, you know, to utilize that. But I also think sometimes it advances and sometimes we get complacent and we get lazy. And you know, because you have that extreme bandwidth of capabilities, like you get a little lazy in the way you design software, and they have like bad memory leaks. And you're just like, yeah, we can put this giant plugin that, you know, Photoshop can now handle rendering 3D spheres that probably six people in the world use, you know, just because we can, and it sucks up all your memory and stuff. You know, it's like, I kind of feel the same way as the same thing is true with like cell data and like all these Wi-Fi and over the air broadcasts and stuff. It's like, yeah, we're pushing the technology to allow us to stream. I mean, that's pretty incredible if you think about it, streaming 4K video. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that to watch a YouTube video, like you waited for like 5 minutes for it to like buffer, and like it really wasn't
everything made in Flash had a preloader.
Yeah, you had the preload stuff, or even, I mean, even a couple of years before that, where you go to a site that has images and you got to like wait for the scan line to like. I mean, think about like that's what I mean. Like the technology has advanced and it's awesome. Like it's pretty amazing to be like we can stream 4K video, like kind of no problem. But at the same time, A, do we need 4K video? And B, like, are we just using the bandwidth? Like, maybe it would be better if we were like transmitting like, you know, our molecular data across the universe. Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it's just we fill the void to fill the void because you have to.
Yeah. There has to be a moment where you have to stop with the TVs and move into realistic 3D environments.
Yeah, you know,
and I know we're moving in that direction, but
we are, and I feel like that is what this is. Like I said before, that's the only benefit I see out of this. That it's pushing the capabilities of the tech that much further. So like, okay, fine, if we can stream 32K video, you know, like that crazy amount of data. Okay, then we can probably stream, you know, super high resolution, real-time rendered environments. Like just, you know, you go on like NBC Live 3D or whatever, and like now you're in a freaking like 3D universe that's just created on the fly. And obviously that's where we're going. We have to have the ability to transmit these massive amounts of data very efficiently. And so a big part of this, I think, is just building the tech, you know, the transmitting tech as it is the content itself.
Right.
But in the meantime, we get some like really weird, like random things that we don't really need. But that's kind of the living story of technology. I mean, every era has its kind of throwaway tech, but it was incredibly important to get us to the next step.
quick little shout out to Steve Tukowski. He's in the chat
Hey!
room. Hola, Steve. Yeah, so let's real quick touch on the last thing that they announced, which was the iPhone. I mean, they announced an iPhone 8, but they also real quick came out with the iPhone 10. Everyone keeps saying iPhone X, but it's iPhone 10. The biggest addition to it is the face recognition. Does any of that even matter?
Yeah, I think it does.
No.
I think right now, again, kind of the same thing as the 4K, and I think some of it's gimmicky, and they have to do that in order to get us to the next point.
Right.
It's pretty obvious where this is going. I mean, right now they're kind of using it like the fingerprint thing, and it's like, ooh, you can log into your phone because it knows your face. Like, who cares? Like, that's kind of, to be honest, that's dumb. But you can see very quickly where this can go, and the fact that the phone now can recognize your face. Imagine the consequences that has on Siri, and Siri needs a lot of work, but on that type of tech where it can now read, you don't have to speak to it anymore. It can read emotions. It can read read lips.
Yeah.
And of course, going into this augmented reality, 3D CG, all this stuff, like, you're gonna start seeing some like real crazy stuff with like 3D humans being created, and like just the amount. You also have to remember that all of these companies are also data miners. They're using all of this stuff, and it's easy to think Big Brother and think that they're working against us, and there are obviously some pretty nefarious purposes for this, but you also have to think about the pretty incredible larger scale things in tech that can come out of a database of having millions of people talking to their phone, and these facial patterns and the way the human face works. I mean, there's some pretty cool stuff, I think, that's going to come out of this data.
The very first thought that I had when they said, you don't have to use your thumb, not that they said that, but that's obviously what they meant. You don't have to use your thumb to unlock the phone anymore. I thought of getting off the L in February in Chicago. Now I don't have to take my gloves off.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, and like, this is total like lazy first world things, but it's like, your phone is off for like 2 seconds and you got to type the code back in or put your thumb, like, it should just know that it, like, that's the Star Trek we're trying to get to. Like, your phone knows that you are the one that has it and not some thief. I mean, that's pretty soon it's going to detect your heartbeat or some crazy thing like that, and like,
that's what the Apple Watch is for. The Apple Watch does it perfectly.
Yeah, exactly.
And it transmits that data to your phone.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be able to like detect like your presence at some point. Like, oh, welcome to the room. Like, I noticed you walked into the room. And I mean, that's kind of creepy, but it's also kind of amazing.
The well, I know the Google Assistant actually recognizes, and I hope I don't wake her up, but actually recognizes the different people's voices.
Yeah.
So if I teach my Google Assistant my voice patterns, and then you walk in the room and you teach yours, and I say, hey, order me this or do something like this on my account, I think it's a girl, she'll know the difference between our voices, which is really cool. But now Apple is working on this functionality on the phone that they're probably going to eventually work into the Apple Home. So when you walk in, you'll be able to talk to Siri and she'll know the difference between you and me just off of our face. Yeah. Which is pretty cool. Yeah.
I mean, that's the type of broader stuff. And Apple's very notorious for doing this, that they plant the seed of something that they intend to. I mean, remember, like, what was it, like they had the front-facing camera actually in the hardware. I remember that. Like, I think it was like the second iPhone. It had the little hole in the front, and everybody was like, "What's that for?" And like, they didn't announce anything. You know, they were deving the tech, and then it's like, I think the third one came out, and it's like, now there's a front-facing camera, and they did the same thing with that. It's like the double lensed camera was there in the previous thing, but it didn't do anything. And like now it's like, oh, it does this, you know, it does this filter thing. But now we know that wasn't just for the gimmicky photo. It's like now they're using it for augmented reality. And like they keep planting the seeds for what they want to. I mean, like the thing with the taptic touch, feedback, you know, it's like they still put the button there because that's what people are used to, except that the button isn't even a button. It's just an indent, you know, on the 7. So speak of
the devil, Landon Wilson just
there he is.
What's up, buddy?
It's like, you know, they were prepping us for just the pure touch screen, just like you're just going to touch the screen and it'll know you're there. There's not going to be a button anymore.
And that was my that's one of the moments that I was trying to describe that to my family members, and they were just like, "Okay, you've gone too far." I had my laptop open and I was like, okay, now click the mouse pad. And they're like, yeah, okay. I go, now click deeper. You hear, you feel that second click?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah. They're like, it's not moving.
Yeah.
Like, but it's clicking. I was like, no, it's just like a thing. And it feels like it clicks and all this stuff. They're like, no, you need to go take a nap because you're out of hand right now.
No, but I mean, it tripped me out. I skimmed the keynotes, and like, I don't always know everything. So when I got the 7, like, I didn't know about that, and I'm pressing it, and I thought it was a button, and then like the power was off, and I'm pressing it. I'm like, what the hell? My thing's broken already, man. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, it's like a little noise. It's like a little vibrating response. It's crazy.
I agree with Steve. Steve said, how about his big pet peeve, the damn notch covering the full screen? I completely agree there.
The what?
When you're holding the phone up at the very top, the cameras that are notched out of the screen.
Yeah.
That's driving Steve crazy. And I agree. I don't know how you can put a camera and have the screen cover the camera so you can have like a complete screen, so you're looking at nothing but screen.
Oh, I got it. I see what you mean.
But I agree. Something as lovely as that phone, and I'm talking all of the phones, all of these widescreen phones that go edge to edge with the screen. I don't know how you would fix that. But
well, they're getting to it where it's like, you know, they got it's not even LCD anymore. I don't know what the latest fiber. I don't even know. Whatever display tech that it's on like flexible, like semi-invisible fabric and stuff. You know, it's like pretty soon they're gonna hide the camera like behind the screen, and like there'll be screen on top of it. I think it's coming. It's coming. You know, it's like one thing at a time. They can't kill them all at once.
Yeah. Yeah. Now the one cool thing that I did see that was pretty neat. Thanks for the link, Steve, by the way. This, what did they call it? An emoji?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the things there's a couple other companies, you know, Adobe has their version, and these things that are kind of live. Animate has it, and something else has it too. What were we talking about? We've been talking about this on shows where it takes facial recognition and turns it into live animation.
Yeah, but the way that they pulled it off, so the way, let's say Snapchat has it to where it's almost like one of those kids masks that you used to get with the little cheap rubber band that wrapped around your head. It looks kind of like that. But with the new facial recognition and all the dots that they put on your face and everything that they're doing, the face tracking, the mask that the presentation had actually looked like, you know, like Sting, the wrestler.
Yeah.
It looked like it was painted on the present. face, and it was pretty. He was moving his eyebrows up and down, and the mask was moving up and down. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing that has major potential. I mean, obviously it'll be used so that you can send your friend a talking poop emoji with your mouth in your face, and like, yeah, it's fine. It is what it is. And but you know, the potential for that. I mean, obviously for like an animation industry, but I mean, even outside of that, just in terms of developing all this facial recognition stuff, and I mean, imagine what this is going to do for like linking, you know, the world languages and stuff. They already have this augmented stuff where it's translating images real time, words and stuff. But now, you know, you're just going to aim your phone at some other person's face, and like as some Chinese person's talking to you, it's just going to like feed it back to you like instantly. Yeah. Because not only does it have the sound, but it has the mouth shapes and like all that stuff it can analyze. It's going to be pretty cool.
Patrick Coleman is in the chat room, and he said you can shrink the size of the video down so it butts up against the edge of the cameras. Yeah, that'd be cool too. I'm still bummed that you have this big, beautiful OLED screen, and it's not able to go edge to edge.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I did find it funny that they basically announced it as like all screen, and like not even talking about the camera, but like there's still an edge around the entire thing.
Right.
So it's like, what are you guys talking about? Like,
right.
It's a little weird. It's like a little just like pushing that
and I think
marketing thing as far as it'll go.
Landon Wilson says, I'm getting the Samsung Note 8 in a day or two. Any Android love out there? Samsung is getting it right. But the thing about Samsung is they better have good screens. They make magnificent TVs.
They do. You know, Samsung has been killing it in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a HD Sony TV, and then it broke, and I went and got a Samsung one.
Yeah. I have,
and it almost ruined TV shows for me, because it was like I felt I was looking through someone's window.
Yes, I mean, God, their TVs are great. They really are. And I actually, before I got onto the iPhone boat, I was always doing Samsung phones, and I was really happy. But the one thing that Apple does, and you know, I'm fully behind open source, and I'm fully behind all the stuff with Android and you know, the operating system and Google's amazingness with that. But you know, because Apple tailors their software for their hardware, and it's that little black box, you know, it's for the most part pretty flawless when it comes to the phones. And you know, I haven't found, I mean, there's been some amazing Android phones, and the stuff that they're developing is pretty great. But that's the one, I think that's their biggest downfall.
I'm with Steve on this one, and Landon makes a huge, just wonderful point. So Steve says, why won't Apple give us Apple Pencil support on a $1,000 phone, like, quote unquote pro phone? Like,
the tech is there. Like, why aren't you porting it across?
Seriously.
Why isn't it on my Mac yet, man? Like, where is that functionality? Like, I can get rid of this whack-em stupid thing that like is bulky and looks like it's from 1995 that I love. But can't I just get rid of it? Like, I have the pencil, you have the tech. Like, give me a desktop that takes the pencil.
Seriously, that's the one thing that I still don't understand. That is a huge letdown. Is I have the phone, or I have the Apple Pencil. You have the tech. I'm all in on this stuff. Just and what's frustrating even more, and we're gonna be moving into here the Procreate chat here in a little bit, but Procreate has this really cool combo thing where you can pick the colors of the palette on your Apple Watch, and you can draw with that color that you selected on your phone. How amazing would it be if you had that Procreate setup with your Apple Watch, Apple phone, and you're able to use the Apple Pencil?
Mm-hmm.
It's frustrating. And like Landon said, come on, you can draw right on the screen with the Note 8 with 4,000 levels of pressure sensitivity.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the one thing I've never understood about Apple is they have the tech, and the way they sort of propagate it across their different hardwares is really weird to me. Like I've never understood like why they chose to put this like double camera on the phone first, and then but like they put the pencil on the iPad first, which I get, it's a bigger device and you want to draw it, but like what have you guys been doing with your desktops? Like you just let that stuff fall in the gutter, and like they don't do anything anymore compared to your mobile devices. And it's like they have all the tech, and the way they distribute it is always really weird to me.
So Steve says, I have given Procreate Pocket a fair try. I can draw with my finger and it's pressure sensitive, but the full control is not there.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, you need the pencil. You really do.
And then Patrick Coleman thinks that the desktop touchscreen monitor.
I think it is. I mean, I think it is. That's how Apple does it. They'll get to it. It's just slow.
But that's just it. Like, I don't want to spend that money. I would rather have my laptop last a little longer and me invest in a Wacom Cintiq.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine how expensive that full draw-on monitor Mac is going to cost?
And for that, like I'm really
I'm 10 grand.
Fine. I'm fine with the with the iPad Pro.
Yeah.
You know, I don't.
But I mean, perhaps that's the argument. But perhaps that exactly is the argument why they've developed it in the order in the timeline in which they have. I mean, for now, I think most people it is good. The iPad Pro is plenty good. I mean, would it be cool to have it on the phone? Yeah. How many real like amazing sketches are you going to do on your phone though? I mean, you probably do a few, but that's not going to be your main drawing application.
No, but there's sometimes that you really just need to hurry up and get
totally
sketch down. You know,
and if it's in your pocket,
functionality that here I'll do this because this is perfect timing. I'll share my iPad Pro screen.
Look at that. You're sharing your iPad screen.
So I don't know if it's going to be able to do this, but right now my iPad is in sleep mode. If I click the home button and then tap with my pen, I get the notes, right? And this is pretty cool. You can change, you know, and the what's cool is only draw with iPad pencil. Your fingers, bitch, come on.
We were just talking about it.
Hi there. Sketch zone. Now, what's cool is
those of you on iTunes, we're drawing live.
Yeah, good point. I'm drawing on the Notes app, and what's neat is that text there. Technically, I should be able to do hi there.
Yeah, and it recognized.
Did you notice what happened?
Yeah.
It did handwriting recognition.
Yeah, that's cool.
And my drawing is now searchable.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So yeah, anyway, there's that. There was something else I wanted to show. Let's say I had Pinterest. Let's say I was drawing a futuristic Roomba. By the way, everyone in the listening live on the chat, the sketch prompt or the fun prompt of the week is a futuristic Roomba. This is right up Steve Tukowski. This is right up your alley. It's a robot. It's a cleaner thing, futuristic. we'll see you on Instagram. So let's say I'm on Pinterest and I do a search for Roomba. So now I have all of this material, this research material that will hopefully pop up soon. So then I can double tap. No, actually not double tap. If I swipe up from the bottom, I get the launch pad here. And I'm able to take Procreate and drag it over to the side. And all that goodness happens, right? So now what's also cool is none of these images are loading. Let's do whatever shows up. Okay, so I'm going to go into Procreate. I'm going to add a new drawing. I can actually take, let's say, let's not draw. I guess any image would actually work, so it doesn't even matter what we're doing. How about we're going to draw some flowers, right? I can click this image and drag it. It might not work with. All right, let's do this. I'm going to go into I can grab Safari, drag it over, move that over. Let's do a search for Roomba. Images. You weren't able to do this before. Now I can click this image and drag it over. And
right, because you got the split screen going on.
Yeah. So you can go through and collect. You can either draw straight on the app, or you can just look through here and have your research material there. And also what's neat is, let's say I have that there. I swipe up a little bit. Let's say I have something like Twitter open. I'm going to double tap. Hey, there's Landon. Hi, Landon. I'm going to go back to Procreate. I'm going to swipe up. I'm going to take Twitter, move it up here, and now it's switched it. Let's switch it back, and then take Twitter. All right, what I'm trying to do is Twitter should be floating on top of the screen. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Doesn't even matter. So yeah, so now you can do a lot of drag and dropping type of stuff. I can swipe up, take my files, drag it here. Let's browse, because in Dropbox, I have a brushes folder. I can go to Procreate. I wanted to see about I can take, oh, this is cool. Hit cancel. I can actually take this. Damn you. Maybe I have to download it first. I'm able to take brushes and just drag it over, and then Procreate will automatically load those brushes and make them available.
That's cool. Because yeah, now you have like the file manager system.
Yeah. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I should be able to grab this and drag it over. And I think it's probably just because it's not downloaded yet. Okay, here we go. It's being a jerk. Anyway, we'll play with that later. So yeah, so you're able to drag images and stuff in here. There's a lot of things that are very much the same. You know, the interface, you have the gallery, which takes you back into the gallery. The brush sizes and the opacity of the brush is pretty much the same. This middle button, you can program that middle button to do a bunch of different things. Obviously, I have flip vertically, flip horizontally, merge down, copy clear layer, la la la. So that is customizable. Let's go into gallery real quick so you can see they've made some updates to the gallery. Now you get stacks. So I'm able to select, and I want to get this guy here, this guy here, this guy here. Select whatever I want and hit stack, and it creates a new album basically. I can take that guy, hit share, and now here you see there's a Procreate image format, Photoshop, PDF, JPEG, PNG, TIFF. You can duplicate in that, and obviously you can delete. So there's that. They've changed the interface for the gallery just a little bit. Now you can actually see a little bit more. And you tap and you go into that stack. What happens if we pinch and zoom? Nothing. You can actually take that stack and move it over. Yeah. So there's that. So that's the gallery. Super fast. Let's go back into this guy here. My futuristic Zumba. We can take a look at these later, but the share options, just the same as what was happening in the gallery, Procreate, PSD, la la la. You can save these out to, you can share within your devices this way. You can save the image, save it to the different drives, blah, blah, blah. We all know and love that stuff. Insert a file. You know, it's all, this is where you would go and find, like if we are drawing something together, I'd be able to share with you a Procreate file. You'd be able to insert that file that way. Insert a photo, same as always. Take a photo, same as always. Cut, copy canvas. There you go. So basically, it takes the entire canvas instead of just that layer and copies it. Perspective guides. There we go. There's the opacity to the perspective guide, the size of the, but this is all stuff that we've, this little shaded area out here, that aqua colored, I think they added that new, but I mean, it's not.
And you can add multiple points to that, yeah?
Yeah.
So it's not just a single point. You can do 3 or just 2?
There's 3.
Can you do 4?
Nope. No.
Oh, come on, Procreate. 4-point perspective.
Hit done, and now you can get in there and do all this wonderful stuff. Canvas information, flip canvas horizontally and vertically. We've known all that. Share, we've already talked about that. Video, time lapse. We've all played with that.
Mm-hmm. Know and love it.
Now what's cool is, and we already know about the export time lapse video. One of the cool things that they did start, and this is important for people like Dave Atsy. Steve does some YouTubing, not a lot though. He does a lot more like live streaming presentations and stuff. Mm-hmm. But this is cool. This is new. They added YouTube.
Yeah.
So now you can live stream to YouTube if you have a YouTube channel. Because I don't know about you, Periscope is fine. Mob Crush, I don't know a lot of people who are on Mob Crush, but YouTube is, is kind of where it's at. So now you'll be able to stream to YouTube. And you guys there in the chat room, if there's anything that you guys want me to go over or anything you want me to try out, let me know. So yeah, so that's there. Preferences, kind of about the same. Edit curve pressures.
There's a few little updates in there, but yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing to get too excited about.
Yeah. Advanced gesture controls. Obviously help restore purchases.
Let's get to the good stuffs.
So that's all basically, we've all seen all that stuff, right? So like Jack said, let's get to the good stuff.
Yeah, son.
Look at this new brush interface.
I've been waiting for this.
This new brush library interface is so wonderful.
Yeah, that old one was getting a little long in the tooth, I gotta say.
Yeah. And it was really hard. If you remember, you would open the brush panel and you'd have to drag across the top.
It got to the point where, it was so complicated to set up what you wanted. I was like, man, they got to figure this out.
Wow. So now it's a vertical. All the brush styles are vertical. And this is draggable. They still have the streamlining. They still have all that good stuff. If I go in here, they've and it might just be me, but this feels a little bit simpler.
Yeah, it does. I don't know what they changed, but it seems a little simpler to me too.
This glaze thing seems to be, I think,
somewhat
new. Wet mix. This is gonna be crazy. We're gonna talk about this in a little bit.
Here we go.
Yeah. I'm gonna reset this because I know there's other brushes that I don't even remember.
That's a good question, Steve. Where's the symmetry at?
I can't even.
Like, they got the perspective down. Like, just give me an axis.
You know, if you go to procreate.art, they have wish list on there.
Yeah, and it's on there.
And I added a couple of them, and they're like, you don't pay attention to anything we say. Take a look at over there. There's already a string that's already happening with that over there. So anyway, let's see. One of the things that I noticed right away, I really have to reset this. I don't know if there's a reset button. Dilution. There we go. That's fine. The sketching is really cool.
Put yours to presentation mode so it's stuck on yours. It keeps popping back to me anytime I say something.
Oh, all right. There you go. Okay. Sorry about that. So right off the bat, the brushes feel different. And I know that, okay, so number one, they, from what I understand, Procreate rewrote Procreate.
Brush engine, yeah.
But no, they rewrote the entire program in the new
the new iOS
language. What's it called?
Yeah,
not Starling. That's the game.
I mean, they did a pretty amazing job. I mean, I'm not on it yet, but it looks to like be the same thing and behave and
and it's snappier. It works. You can tell that they really worked on it because things.
Yeah, I'm sure. You know, you do
everything you do.
Everything you do the second time is so much better. You know, if they basically rewrote the entire program, there's probably a bunch of little stuff that went unnoticed that they just cleaned up along the way.
Right.
But God, I wish Photoshop could have that luxury, man. That thing needs.
So this is one. Where did it go? There was one brush that was driving me crazy because you would draw and it was like almost like it wasn't supposed to be a watery brush. It was supposed to be a pencil, but the line when you first laid it down, it was dark, and then the longer you made the line, it would almost like this end here of the line would start to almost water itself out, and it wouldn't be, you know, so the beginning of the line started almost like just fading away a little bit. And I was like, I really don't like that. But you go on and you pick a different brush, and then you forgive them for that. Let's see. Let's get into inking, painting. Let's get into painting. Is that the one? Wet acrylic. That's what I wanted to see. Oh, let's go here before we do all that. The different color palettes. You can get the disc. Before, this used to be a setting where you would have to say whichever one you wanted. So you can select your colors this way. And then with the wet brush, you can come in here and
God, it's beautiful.
I'm glad you said that, because I don't know how to, like, you can set down some paint, and then when you come back over, it doesn't necessarily just paint over it. It affects the stroke.
Yeah, it's moving it around, and I'm sure. So have you messed around with the setting? Because I know you can. I was reading about it. I know you can adjust the flow settings.
Yeah. There you go.
See, I mean, like God, it's like mixing the. Beautiful.
That's turpentine. That's just
like Painter all over again, but like fixed. It's like what Painter should have been so easy.
You know,
people are gonna go nuts with this stuff, man. This is gonna be awesome.
And you can, let's get some gouache action in here.
And so,
and it's amazing because, okay, so yeah, the pressure sensitivity, boring stuff. But it's like the paint builds up on itself. Look at that. And then you can, again, let's go into the smushy stuff.
So, but the thing I'm noticing right away, some of it's, there you go. See, that's interesting, because some of it seems just kind of like a riff on, you know, good old blending and opacity settings. But see, now what I see what's happening there is that it's smudging those edges, and you can further finesse kind of the blending, because what was once kind of a hard opacity overlay, now you have kind of an interesting bleeding. And now
so you can, it's like before, and I know a bunch of traditional painting programs, what they do is you lay down a stroke, you lay down another one, is just kind of like what you see there. They just kind of overlap each other.
Yeah, it just kind of does the math of in between the two images.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is actually pushing the paint around.
Yeah, it's got some sort of dynamic engine behind it, which is what I was really hoping they were going to do. That it was going to calculate, you know, obviously it's calculating motion vectors, like you got your direction and your speed and the pressure and all that. But now I'm wondering, I mean, Procreate's been pretty good about this with their brush engine, and you can tell the way that it stores its data. And this is probably black box stuff that might be hard to figure out, but it's unlike any other program, because it's not vector based, but the way in which it stores your strokes, I mean, we've got living proof for that because of the playback, you know, and the all the infinite undo and all that stuff, and you can watch the time lapse. It's recording strokes in a pretty unique way, and I'm wondering how much of that they're utilizing here, if it actually has record of what the previous stroke was, and if it's utilizing that, or if it's purely an additive calculation of manipulating on top.
Well, it kind of has to remember what the stroke was, because that's what the playback comes.
Well, I know that, but I guess what I'm trying to get at is, you know, if you have, say you have some of those really streaky turpentine stuff that have a very specific direction to them, a very specific kind of pressure all along the way. If you go across that with another mixed media brush, if it's purely additive and in that it's just taking the image as it is and manipulating that way, or if it actually is taking into account the quote unquote ridges and depth and all that stuff that would have been there from the previous stroke, like an actual, you know, an actual paint thing would do. Because I know it's not living paint. There's been a couple of programs out there that are trying this like constant living paint where each thing like actually has a quote unquote drying time and you can apply gravity and all that stuff. And I know those engines get pretty bloated really quick, but they do offer something really interesting, kind of about how each stroke affects the ones that came before it. And I'm wondering how much of that is here. It's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, I'm trying to get, there we go. I'm trying to get more of a build-up. Because this here, like the smudging, kind of everyone can do. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find, here, let's do this. What I'm trying to do is do something with a super wet brush.
Mm-hmm.
Here, let's do this.
Because you got these dilution, charge, attack, pull settings, which I'm not even entirely
look at that.
You know, sure what they do.
It's like it's taking the that was actually pretty cool. You can get some really cool fire effects in there. But it's like, it seems to be pushing the paint around a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is, because it's affecting the line underneath. It is actually, if it's not just additive, it's definitely moving around the colors that were there previously, and even taking them into account into your current stroke. Because I noticed on the other one, when you left the light orange area, it was still kind of producing light orange in a later stroke, which kind of implies that it's got it on the brush, for lack of a better word.
So if I do this here, what I want to do is, that's what the original color is. So if I come in here.
Yeah, so you can see it kind of pulling around that lighter orange up into the swirls. I mean,
it's definitely picking up the white too. You can see the white better than anything.
But I guess, so is that actually white, or is that just our default background? No, it is white. It's pulling up the white. So I'm assuming there'd be a difference then if you shut off your white back. I know it is. It's just what's coming through. So you can change that. You can change it.
Oh, that actually gives you a better idea.
Yeah, it shows the pulling a little. So it is actually taking it. So now if you switch it back, the background back to white, do those dark areas switch to white, or did it pull that from the? Okay, so it is. It's
yeah, it pulls from everything that's under it.
That's weird. I don't even know quite how to understand that. It's like a.
How about if we do like that, and then
it seems kind of like an alpha, but it's still treating it as a live pullable color, which is really interesting. So now, what setting are you on now?
It's the same thing, but what I did was I wanted to see if it would pull from a layer on top.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't seem to be doing that.
I think if you multi-select, because now we've got multi-select layers, right? So you can probably shift select. All right, so I say shift, but what's the functionality now?
Yeah, good question.
I would bet you that there's a way to affect more than one layer at a time.
Ooh, that did something. I don't know what that was. So if I click and hold, or tap and hold, it doesn't do anything. But if I do 2 layers, it selected something. This is cool. Bah! Okay, I see. That's okay. So this is crazy talk.
So now it's using your alpha lock, but it's also still streaking paint. This is really bizarre and interesting.
So I can use...
Because it's still utilizing the brush engine and it's streaking stuff around. And it's even pulling in white from areas outside of the locked alpha.
Yeah.
But it's only painting in the locked area. That's pretty interesting.
Wacky.
That's pretty cool.
We can, let's see what else here.
So I'm interested in these settings. We've got attack, charge. It's like a war plan.
Here, let's start a new layer and let's play with that. If we have a brush, do we want to go into any other kind? Wet acrylic, is that okay? Airbrush?
We can pull something. I mean, do they all? So this is what so does every brush have the capability of becoming wet, or is it a specific?
Yeah.
Okay, so they all can be changed to a wet mix or a glaze.
Yeah. I want to see if I can. Oh, and you can tap and hold, and then you can move the brushes up or down.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Prioritize that stuff.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go. Let's go tuck it. So the smudge brushes and the erasers and stuff like that all basically have the same functionality as the brush. So we'll take a look at that here in a second. But if we take a look at the layer palette, I guess, or menu, you have the plus sign, which is, it just adds a new layer. But there's some really cool additions to this. If you tap on it, you can see rename, you see select, copy, fill layer, which is really cool. We don't I reached over and did Command Z on the keyboard. Now you don't have to like go up there, which I don't know. Oh, dude. Oh no. You can still. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is something I just learned. If I tap and hold on the color, that color button at the top right, it gives you the last color that you used. Tap and hold, there's the purple. Tap and hold, there's the orange. So you can basically switch.
How is it cycling?
It's the last two colors that you've used. So right there,
okay.
There's the orange, right? I'm going to turn that to like a blue, right? I'm going to fill with that. If I tap and hold, it turns back to the orange, which is, it's pretty neat. I guess there's some functionality there that's going to be cool. That's a really good example of how it picks up the brush, the pushes around the pigment. I'm
That's cool.
I'm painting with an orange brush, but it's pushing the blue that's down there.
So you're painting, but it says the orange, the main orange, is that a background or is that a fill?
The background is, so the orange is on the layer.
Okay.
And then I'm painting the blue on top of it.
So you're painting orange on orange. It's not like orange on a background of orange.
Yeah. So in effect, we're probably just kind of smudging the colors around.
Because it did seem to get a very different effect when you had an alpha involved. It was moving that alpha around in a really interesting way. So I mean, that's something to be aware of that I'm sure could be utilized either way. I think there's probably benefits to painting color on color versus color on invisible.
Dave Atsy. All right, so we have this dude here. So let's see, rename, select. If we select, it's selecting the stuff that's in there. So if we switch colors, now I can color. And that's that effect that you were talking about, where it's picking up the very bottom color and mixing that in with the selection. Let's deselect that. Fill layer we did. Clear is obvious what that is. Alpha lock. If you click on that and paint.
Yeah, that's
kind of the same as making that selection. Here, I'm going to delete this. Or if you saw, so if you swipe left, you can lock the layer, you can duplicate the layer, and you can delete the layer.
Yeah. And access the.
And obviously that little check mark is what?
Visibility.
A really quick visibility shortcut. So now what's cool is I can.
Yeah, I
can take, and this, we were able to do this before, but I can take these 3 layers here, pinch, and it combines them all.
Yeah, so easy.
What I'm doing to do that quick selection, if I tap and hold and tap any other layer, if I tap and hold and tap the layer under it, why? Like now that I'm trying to show it, it's not doing it. I was tapping and holding and then tapping another layer. You're driving me crazy, son. Anyway. Mask is really cool. So if I have, here, let's turn this off. If I have this layer selected and I hit mask, now I get this next layer, and it's exactly like in Photoshop. It's full of white, and that's what's going to show. But if I have black, I can come in here and get a different brush. And whenever I paint black, is going to disappear. But then if I turn it white,
you can bring it back.
You can bring it back. Just kidding. There we go.
Yeah. That's cool. That's super helpful.
Yeah.
Because I know so many times I've wanted to like mask off something or delete something without actually deleting it. And masks are so important.
And even if you have like with a bunch of smoke and all those amulets with the glowy things and all this other stuff, you can create like some sort of a shining effect, and then you can go in there and mask out some of it to make it look like it's, you know, smoke or whatever. Or you can actually bring it back. That's pretty cool.
Dave Etsy's asking if you resize the strokes on a layer, does Procreate still trim that layer to the canvas size, or does it allow you to shrink it again, remembering what's outside the canvas?
So if I do this,
I'm pretty sure it crops it.
Yeah, it crops it.
Yeah.
That's a good question, though. I think Photoshop has finally gotten to the point where they don't crop it, which is helpful. Okay. So
yeah, it still crops it, Dave.
Rename, select, and clear masks. So I'm going to clear. I'm going to swipe left, delete. let's see what else. So we just did mask, perspective assist. This is huge, I think. So if you have your perspective grid on, if you remember, we had that big hodgepodge. And you turn on perspective assist. Now you're able to follow lines. And this here is absolutely so helpful and amazing. This is one of the reasons why I really like working in Sketchbook Pro, because I don't necessarily, one of the cool things that, let's turn that off. One of the cool things that Procreate does is I can draw a line and it'll be whatever I'm asking it to be, the scribbles or whatever. But if I draw a line, it doesn't matter how much scribble I have. If I hold down the pencil, it'll straighten out that line, and I'm able to, draw in perspective that way. But it's a pain because and I know, again, first world problems. I don't want to draw a line and then sit there and wait for it to snap and then let it go, right? I want to be able to, that's helpful if I'm going to do, a couple lines. But now with perspective assist, if I turn that on, I can see my perspective grid and I can just real quick throw these lines down. And
if you're close, it figures it out for you.
Right. So yeah, so that's helpful because there's sometimes, especially here, let's do, because it gets crazy with 3 points. If I tap, what is it? If I tap, there we go. If I tap and hit delete, now I have 2-point perspective. Hit done. Now I can come in here and I can real quick, I don't have to tap and hold. By the time I'm done drawing this building, the previous way, I would still be waiting for the second or third line to snap into place. So that's really cool. I like that. And then what else? Reference. We know about reference from before. Let me turn off this grid. I can select this, use that as a where did it go? Reference layer. I can come down to a different layer and then just drop in color.
Fills.
That's super helpful too. And then again, you can drop it in there. Let's see, let's find a closed area. You can drop, it's doing whatever the hell it wants to now. Here we go.
Uh-oh. Are you on the right layer?
Yeah, it shouldn't really matter because it's a reference layer. There we go. It's because I had the tolerance set way high. So if you're watching this, one of the neat things that Procreate lets you do is I can tap on the color on the top right-hand corner and drag it down, and it's going to fill an area. And now with my finger still down, I can drag left and right, and I can set.
Yeah, look at that. Live tolerance adjustment.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's amazing. That's been there this whole time. But
oh, really? I don't know about that.
Yeah. It doesn't change the fact that it's amazing, but yeah, it's super helpful, especially when you're just real quick. You're trying to throw down your base colors, and you're going to build your gradients and your shading off of that. If you have, like, for example, if you have your inking pen, I can come in here and do a circle.
Your ink pen.
You gonna use your ink pen? I can drop it in here, and if I screw
And it doesn't work.
You know what? It's not gonna work because it's still another good thing. 2 fingers is undo, 3 fingers is redo. I use that all the time. I'm going to turn off this reference. Turn that off, and now it should work. If I go to the right layer, I'm going to click and drag. It'll fill that up. If I drag to the left, it takes away tolerance. If I drag to the right, it adds tolerance. So it makes it
yeah, you can get a pretty nice fill.
Easy to fill. Yeah. And I mean, that fill there is
way better
than
way better.
So the trick in Photoshop, for those of you that don't know, you get a let's get
paint bucket.
You can draw a shape, but then you always get these jaggy lines right in here. So the trick in Photoshop is you put your ink down on one layer, and then you create a new layer, and then you can.
Yeah, that's one way, but that's.
There you go. I have some shortcuts in Photoshop that actually that I created some actions that I can use a magic wand, and it'll select inside this circle, and then
expand it a little bit.
It'll expand it a little bit, and then fill it, and then deselect it.
Yeah.
These guys got that figured out. That's a pretty solid. Yeah,
that looks pretty good. Yeah. Very nice.
What else? If we tap here, merge down, and combine down. Those are both really cool things.
What's the difference?
If I tap this, okay, so let's say I have this house, and then I have the colors laid down under it, and I like it, and I want to combine the 2 layers together. I tap and I hit merge down, and you see how it's combined the color, this blue color, and the black.
You can't use the word combine. You're confusing me. Because the next one's called combine.
Oh yeah, good point. It merges the 2 layers.
Yeah, it makes them one.
2 layers into one layer.
One layer as they were seen before, but now just as a single layer.
Right.
Okay, so what's combine do?
So I'm going to undo that. Dang, how many steps did we do? Okay, so now we see that we have the house on one layer. We have the color on another layer. If I tap the house and I do combine down, it actually adds them to a group. So they're still separate. They're still separate.
There we go.
But so much easier to manage that whole thing.
Right, now you can move stuff as groups.
Yeah. And so that helps, because if this house is done, I don't necessarily want to merge the 2 layers to have the inks and the colors on the same layer. I want to keep those separate. And people might be asking, well, why would you want to keep them separate if you colored them? Well, maybe today this window is blue, but if I hit alpha lock, maybe tomorrow I want it to be a dark brown color. So I can come in here and color that, and now it's a completely different looking.
Yeah, you didn't lose your selection masks and your shapes and all that stuff.
Right. So it helps. It helps when you're trying to keep flexibility of colors and stuff. So that was merged down. It creates a new group for you, and you're able to rename, flatten, merge down, combine down. So merge down is exactly that. It takes the layer under it, and it makes it all one layer. Combine down, it just makes the new group, or takes that last layer and combines it into the other group. Combine down. Yeah, there you have it. So those are all the layers, layer menus, and there's gesture shortcuts that I just can't. You're able to select. I just can't remember.
Yeah, there's a whole list of them. There's quite a few of them.
Tap and hold, and then tap again. That doesn't do anything. Is it doing anything? No.
That's the part of Procreate that I find a little bit of a stumbling block. That remembering how many fingers in which direction to swipe or hold is getting to be a little cumbersome.
Yeah. So like I can swipe left on this, and it changes that layer's color if I swipe left. If I'm okay. This is the stuff that yeah, I agree, still gets me. If I swipe left, I think maybe that makes that a reference layer.
Yeah, though that gesture's been there for a version or two. But I know there's another one, another couple of gestures that'll get you an alpha lock. One will get you the reference layer.
That didn't really do much. Multiple layers selected. All right, cancel that then. We'll have to do like a whole new tutorial or something on that. I forget what that is. I thought it was a reference layer, but if I select it, no, that's not doing anything. But yeah, if you swipe right, there's the lock, duplicate, delete thing. If you swipe left, it's doing something. I just don't know what the hell that is. But then that's what's interesting. I can swipe left. We can find out. Anyway, we were going to look at I thought I saw swipe left on multiple layers. You can transform them as one. Oh, there we go. There, that's how you do it. I have all of these selected, and I can layer empty. God damn you. If I have this selected, swipe right, swipe right, swipe right, swipe right, hit the arrow. There we go. Now I can move all of those layers all at the same time. Thanks, Dave. That makes sense now. So I'm able to swipe right on the different layers. And then if I hit the arrow button, I can manipulate each one of those layers all together as a group and not have to have them in a group. That's cool. This is something that I used just the other day. You can go into, they've always had opacity, Gaussian blur, motion blur, perspective blur, sharpen, noise. I think the way that they've changed the way that these hue, saturation, and brightness tools work. They're a little more powerful now. And that's really cool because if you think about it, if you have, let's say you have your futuristic Roomba ink on one layer and then you have it colored on a different layer, you can actually go into the colored layers or even the ink layers and change the color of that layer without having to fill it with with your.
I think you need to print this out. You look like a Kandinsky.
That's pretty neat. I have to be careful because otherwise it'll get cropped. Good call, Dave Atsy. So yeah, you can recolor, cancel. Let's go into, let's just do that one just for kicks. Recolor. That's crazy. Oh, you know what's happening? That's pretty neat. If I have, oh, by the way, in the color panel, you can go into your different palettes too.
Yeah.
So let's say I wanted to use the choopy color. I can come back here. And on this layer, I have this one dot that we can't really see. That dot right there. If I wanted to recolor it, I select the color that I want to recolor it to, and then I can go here, hit recolor, and you see that the crosshairs there? It's picking up the color that is within those crosshairs, and it's replacing that color with the color that I have selected. So if I drag over to that dark brown dot, it's picking up that dark brown color and replacing it with the green that's there.
Wow. So do that on that other layer that has a more complex pattern and alpha system.
Hang on, if we do like this. Oh, that's cool too.
Right. Tolerance.
Yeah.
So
okay, let's go to patterns.
Yeah, I'm curious what it does on that layer.
Let's say I want a little aqua color. Recolor. I want to pick Theo.
Wow. Dude. That's pretty cool. Yeah. That's like the replace color function in Photoshop, but this is like instant live. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's banana.
You can just like fall over it and see what happens.
You see how that builds out? That's really cool.
Uh-huh.
Dude.
That's nifty.
The people who make this, I think, Savage Interactive, you guys stayed up many late nights. Good on you. Holy cow. This, you know how as a cartoonist, this comes in handy because you can go through, you can do, actually when we were doing process projects, we were doing color samples. This is a thanks, Steve. Yeah, you can actually have. Okay, so yeah, I'm totally geeking out on this bonkers tangent, but okay, let's go here. If I had, say, an emoji, and then I wanted to have, I wasn't sure if I wanted that to be blue. There's an easier way to do this. Let's do it that way. Reference, go down here, drop. on reference. I can actually go on this layer. Well, actually, there's so many different ways to do this. You could do color balance and mess with it like that. Actually, a better way to do that would probably be this. And then you can just continue to copy these layers and then go through and change the colors. Or you can put a bunch of these all side by side and then do the replace color function. Do like that. Dude, that's bananas.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's really cool. And then curves. We've played with curves before. How many points can we put in here? Oh, you can put a lot. Holy cow. That's pretty cool. Crank up the red, crank down the green, crank up the blue. That's pretty cool. Reset. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Anything else? Oh, you know what we were going to do? We're going to go in here and do a painting. No, artistic. Let's do artistic. Let's do a wet acrylic. But I kind of want to copy this. Duplicate. All right, so the dilution is at 26. Charge is disabled and attack. Pull is at 99%. So let's hide all this. Give me a new layer. All right, with the brush, the way it comes out the box, it looks like that. I'm going to put another layer or another stroke on there. Now I'm going to go in here and crank up the dilution. it made everything go away. So I'm thinking we probably dilution is how much water you're adding to the paint.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, like, the more dilution is in there. Now what's cool is look at how watery that looks.
Yeah.
And if I go up here, it pushes that paint around too. It's like, that's about as close to watercoloring, digital watercoloring as I've gotten. Let's turn that down. Let's see what charge does. I'm going to crank charge all the way up.
It's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, I don't know if that did anything.
So if you put your dilution back up, just so we can see.
So now what's cool is look at the end of that. I think what it might be doing is it's putting down paint, but the paint is super wet. Does that make sense? So when we have the dilution all the way up, it's like nothing but water. But if we have both dilution and charge down, it comes out almost dry.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So if we crank both of those up, dilution is the amount of water that's on the brush, but then charge is the amount of paint that's getting pushed out of the brush.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So it's
That
like,
makes sense.
so in effect, it's like super wet paint.
Yeah. Super viscous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I do like this and I pick up the brush.
Yeah. Okay. So then we got one more, attack.
Attack is just adding
pull. So I think we need to turn some of the other ones down to see its effect.
Yeah. Let's just do full on attack. I wonder if it's how much it interacts, how much it's interacting with the paint under it. Because that's kind of the only thing I can really see.
So, all right, I'm reading the release guide. So, I mean, some of these have been here since 3, but they don't. I mean, they've obviously taken on new meaning now that they have actual wet brushes. But yeah, you were right. So, charge is literally the amount of paint that's being charged in your brush. Dilution is effectively a thinner. It's the amount of water, like you said. Let's see. So we've got pull and attack.
Both of those sound like the opposite of each other. Maybe how much paint, how much of the paint that you're putting down affects the paint that's already there might be push versus the paint that you're putting down like being affected by the paint that's already there being.
Yeah, pulling is probably how much it's affecting. Yeah, it's how much it's pulling up paint. Yeah, so try turning off the yeah, interesting.
What if I turn everything off?
You kind of get your default brush.
We're back to that drier brush.
So yeah, turn your. The thing about that is turn your opacity down so we can see what it's doing to the thing underneath.
Yeah, good point.
It's covering it up. A little hard to tell, man. It's some subtle behavior. Pull. So that's clearly how much it's literally pulling around underneath, because I could see the streakiness in. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't
that
know,
one's
man.
tough. That one's tough.
There's almost no information about this yet online.
Look at that though. So this is what's interesting. I think maybe push and pull. So if you have no dilution, it almost takes over. The paint that you're putting down almost takes over for the paint that's already there.
Yeah.
Right? And the pull is already turned up. But if I turn the dilution all the way up, watch how it affects everything that's under it.
So now turn the pull down and let's see, because you need that water to, yeah, it's a little harder.
Yeah, it doesn't pull the paint as much.
It's interesting. So then I assume attack has some similar thing. Keep your dilution up, but mess around with the attack. That has something to do with the way it builds in the stroke. Because you can see the brush itself, the brush preview change.
Yeah. All right. So I think, okay. Yeah, I think it's what I think it is. If your pull is all the way up, it pulls the paint that's already there. It pulls that paint with your brush, right? Whereas if I pull the attack all the way up and the pull all the way down, the new paint that I have on my brush is the one that takes precedence. So what happens if we do 50-50? Oh my God, that's wonderful. That's a cool brush. That's a cool brush. Dilution is all the way up. Attack and pull are right around 50%. And you cannot double tap on the buttons to add to type in numbers. You have to drag. But yeah, that's, look at, actually I've accidentally made a hot dog here. That's hot dog color with ketchup and mustard on there. A little relish.
It's cool.
That's very cool.
Very excited for this release.
There's pencil settings, brush name, use stamp preview. Huh, interesting. Brush behavior, orient to screen. Ooh, I wonder if that means, like, if I have that like that, orient to screen. Let's do that. If I do like that, I don't know what that means. Okay. Smudge. Heck yeah, dude. Crank that smudge. Bruck. Look at that, dude. Are you crazy? Brack. People are gonna go bananas for this thing. If Procreate would give me a circle template and a text tool, I would have no need for Photoshop anymore. I currently use real life circle pencils. Okay, Dave, you're overthinking it, but dude, what you do is you go to procreate.art and you find yourself these brushes here. They're called shapes. Now I have hidden layers. Now I have a circle. And I can take that and resize it. It's all fuzzy, but I can do like this. Bam. And I'll give you, you guys in the chat room, if you want, I can send you links to some of these brushes, but varied circles. And you can actually use these guys as a, and I also have squares, triangles, pentagons, straight lines, even though you don't necessarily need a straight line, because yet again, if you have a normal brush, you can click, drag, hold, drop that bad boy in there. Yep. I like it. I like it a lot. When was it? I think they said September 19th is when Procreate. Dude, that's what I need. That's right, Dave. I got you, dude. I got you.
And then download a brush for each letter, Dave, and you can then have a typeface font.
Yeah. So yeah, is there anything else we need to mess around with?
I mean, I think that's pretty substantial coverage. We could, if you find some more stuff, you can give us an update next week.
Totally. I'm going to be messing with this quite a bit.
Yeah, because there's almost no documentation yet online. I mean, there's a few videos of people reviewing it, the guys that got the early release, but yeah, there's no official documentation. So it's a bit of a mystery what all this stuff does.
I've been watching them on Instagram. It's really cool to see. They're a passionate bunch. It's really cool to see how much they've worked on this thing, and you know, they get their developers to, you know, show off some of the stuff that they've been working on, and it's amazing. It's amazing. It's a really cool, everything from, you know, the tilt of your pencil, Apple Pencil, all of that stuff works when you're shading and stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be an incredible update. Everything from the iPad to the to Procreate and everything. It just seems like they're starting to understand. They're starting to listen to what artists need. The fact that we can have half the screen devoted to research materials, and the whole click and drag thing, or tap and drag thing, is amazing. There's other things that they're doing with the operating system, where if I'm watching a video, I can minimize the video and it'll play in a little square up on the whatever corner I want it to play in while I'm using Procreate. There's a lot of really nice little touches that they're doing with this operating system. Yeah, and then Procreate, what they're doing with the brush engine and the, I forget what the Metal is, the new I want to say kit, because everything is a kit to Apple, but Metal is the new layer of what am I trying to say? The graphic interface, I guess. And that's just opened up all kinds of functionality for people like Procreate to take advantage of. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. I'm trying to Swift. That's what it is. Swift is basically makes Objective-C a lot easier to program and a lot easier to understand, a lot easier to read, and it handles a lot of the mundane things that developers have a tendency to overlook. And it makes things a little bit easier to develop. But then you add stuff like metal that you can tap into and do things like, you know, add dilution to a brush and adding water and pigment to a brush and actually make it look a little bit more real. That's where the relationship between Savage Interactive and Apple comes in, and it's just been it's a lot of fun. You guys are gonna love this. I have been doing nothing but mush pixels around. I haven't even, with the exception of the last fun prompt, I haven't done anything but mess around with pushing pigment. It's just a lot of fun. You guys are gonna like it. Yeah, Baja Jack. Dave just finally got the joke, the text joke. So yeah, there you go. Do you want to do artist showcase?
We should wait for Charlie.
Okay.
I've got a pretty good one that Charlie should be around to see.
Awesome. Well, what we can do is do like an artist showcase tip. Dave Atsy actually on Instagram shows everyone what is it? Awesome Artist Mondays.
Yeah.
So you can go to Instagram.com/awesomeartistmondays. Dave, if you don't mind, if there's any underscores or anything on there, please let us know. But yeah, Dave has a lot of Dave stocks a bunch of artists and then like steals their artwork. And then no, he showcases a lot of really cool artists out there. So yeah, go to Instagram.com/awesomeartistmondays, and I believe he's on Twitter with that too. Yeah, so there. With that said, I think it will be time to wrap this bad boy up. If you guys have any questions as far as Procreate goes or whatever, don't hesitate to hit us up on social media. Speaking of which, Jack, if people are looking for you online, where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm at sketchbookjack.com. And of course, Sketchbook Jack on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest.
Cool. Thanks, Dave. It's Awesome Artist Mondays, plural, multiple Mondays, because he's been doing it for at least one Monday. Yeah, so check that out. Until then, I am Carlos Gomez. You can find me at coconutjustice.com. And that's going to be another show that we can probably talk about. I actually pushed everything away from a WordPress site, and I'm using Adobe Portfolio for my show, or for all of my portfolio pieces and such. So yeah, so go check that out. Let me know what you think. I'm cooking plugs right now, and I'm afraid I'm going to unplug something. So yeah, go to Coconut Justice, coconutjustice.com, Coconut Justice everywhere else. This is Sketch Zone. You can go to sketch.zone. This is episode 118. So we have 117 other episodes of wonderful artists that have shared their time with us. And I don't usually do this because I don't want to jinx anything, but we have the next 2 weeks. Actually, I'm about to solidify the third week. We have back to back monsters.
Uh-oh.
Monsters.
Yeah.
we have an animator from DreamWorks coming on. And if you guys are watching, go ahead and do a search for Ombre McSteez.
Yes. You got him?
Got him. He's going to be here in 2 weeks.
Yes.
He's going to be here in 2 weeks. So yeah. And then after that, I'm trying to solidify another one for another really cool group that's doing some really cool stuff. So actually, I think it was Dave Atsy that showed me this group and what they're doing. Anyway, I'm going to try to get them on the calendar here soon too. But until then, you can go to sketch.zone and catch up on everything, and you can find us there, interact with us. Facebook, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. All the links that you're looking for are on sketch.zone. And if you're watching this show on YouTube, go ahead and click subscribe. That helps us out quite a bit. Yeah, that's about it. If you're not watching on YouTube, you can find us on Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play Music, and obviously on iTunes. That's it. Have a good week.
Thanks, guys.